Well, hello, Links family. Dennis Darville with Drew Hamilton, our regional director for South Central. Basically, he covers a lot of turf. I mean, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas. I think he's in Chicago today. So, a lot going on. The Lord's really using our brother to really make a difference in so many people's lives. But today, we're going to do our third episode in this series on suffering. And I've asked Drew for permission to talk about just the tough season of life that he and his precious bride, Susan, find themselves in. And so, Drew, thank you for your willingness. It's really good to see you again. I know I get to see you in a couple of weeks in San Antonio. San Antonio, I really look forward to it. But brother, tell us what's going on in y'all's life, and two, tell us most importantly what is sustaining you through these very, very choppy waters, this tough season of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Dennis, thanks for having me, and good morning, afternoon, evening to our Lynx family. Thanks for having me. So, yeah, a real quick recap for those who aren't aware. My wife, Susan, was diagnosed with appendix cancer in February of 2020. And during that year, she went through 10 rounds of chemo and also had what's known as a HIPEC surgery. So, HIPEC, for those who want to go and see what all is involved in that. She was then in remission for about 9 months, but the cancer returned in 2021. And so we have been dealing with it ever since. The regular routine is every other week chemo. Last year, she was going to have another HIPEC surgery, but her surgical oncologist deemed it prohibitive and said it would probably do more damage than good. So we are on what is known as a maintenance chemo. And currently, actually, a blessing is that Susan is on a 2-month break from chemo. But once that's over, essentially it's every other week chemo, and we go to MD Anderson every 3 months or so for scans and checkups with the oncologist. So that's the situation. The other thing you asked me to do is just to address, how do we sustain ourselves? And well, I want to be real clear that yes, we are both suffering, but I am fully cognizant that Susan is the one dealing with the actual physical pain and the mental anguish of being treated for chemo and no real finish line in sight. And so my role is a little bit different, and I am cognizant of that. But I've noticed three things that have helped sustain me. So I'll just tell you about those. The first is scripture verses. I love memorizing scripture. And so in our situation, for me, I hold on. There's two verses that help me that are promises. First is Joshua 1:9, where God said, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." So that is helpful. And then in the New Testament, James 1:12 says, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life the Lord has promised to those who love him." So those are promises that are helpful. And then I like to keep it simple. And so a practical application comes from Romans 12:12, which says, "Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer." So that one doesn't require a whole lot of explanation. It just helps me on a day-to-day basis. So scripture verses, that's one. A second one is that we've both discovered that we have new ministries. So my wife is ill, obviously, and it seems like every day someone else is becoming ill. And so being 4 years into her journey, she's able to help others who get a new diagnosis, and she can come alongside and comfort them and let them know what to expect, having been on this road. And for me, I didn't realize, nor did I have, I guess, empathy for the caregiver. And that presents its own set of challenges. And for those who have been in that role, they understand it. Those who have not been in the role, it's a different challenge, but I'm now able to come alongside those who are stepping into the journey of being a caregiver as well. And then the last thing is, it was just a real compliment that a friend gave to me, and it's something that I didn't realize, and something I constantly remind people, is that we always carry influence. And he said that, we've got a platform and we can either strengthen others people's faith or be that pleasing aroma that might draw people to faith. And what he said that we do well, and that has really strengthened his faith, is he called it suffering well. And by that, he meant that, even though Susan does have cancer and things may not be as we would desire, we can still have joy, we can still have hope, and hopefully, like we said, we can be that pleasing aroma to others.
Brother, I've walked with you now for a number of years, and I can verify and vouch that you and Susan both just joy. It's a contagious joy, strength. I've just watched God's grace really enliven you, strengthen you, His grace cover you. And so I just want you to know we love you. We're praying for you all the time.
Thank
That's
you.
not just empty rhetoric. Make sure you give Susan our regards and let her know, reminder that we're praying for her.
Will
And I
do.
really want to thank you for your time today. And so, for all our Links family and friends out there, if you're suffering, you personally, or your spouse, or a parent or a child, are going through something similar with Drew, just know that we're going to stop and pray and trust the Lord that God intervenes and just shows Himself strong in your behalf. So, Drew, good to see you again. Thank you for your time today.
Yeah,
Love you
thanks
very
for
much,
having me.
brother. Yeah, you're welcome.